Okay, I've got a couple more for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Dude, you kick ass. You are just. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm quick. I don't got time to spend, messing around with this stuff.
And I've slid 5 of my own questions in here, so this is like a free session for me. Thank you.
Mark's getting free legal service.
Yeah. How is song ownership typically split amongst a band? After a breakup, who would own the rights? That's a good question, isn't it?
Well, this is very interesting, and I'm dealing with this with a couple of the artists that I work with. What you try and do is have a band agreement, either a band partnership agreement or shareholders agreement, and that addresses who owns the songs or who owns the publishing for the band, and then what happens if one of those members leaves. And traditionally what would happen is that the person who contributed those songs on that album would retain the rights on those albums, at least on the publishing side. So if he leaves the band, he takes that piece with him, but the publishing, the administration of it, stays with the band, meaning the band can still make whatever deals on that song they want to. They just have to pay the writer who's left his piece. Now, if they have an agreement where it's a band song and the band owns the publishing and the writer doesn't get his piece if he leaves, well, you can do that in a contract as well. But I wouldn't advise it. I'd advise that every writer take at least their writer's share, regardless of the band agreement. And then even if the member leaves, he still gets paid his writer's share. And that writer's share could be paid directly by ASCAP or BMI or by a recording company. Where were we? What was the question?
You said you were sucked into a vortex. It was kind of cool. We were saying, how is song ownership typically split amongst a band? And after a breakup, who would own the rights?
Right, and that was a kind of complex answer. But the main, the gist of it is that hopefully there's a band shareholder agreement or a partnership agreement. Really, the writer owns the piece that he wrote, regardless of what verbally might be discussed, because there's no oral transfer of copyrights. So it really matters. If he wrote a share of the song, then he owns a share of the song. But if there was a band agreement, that band agreement would dictate how this works. If all the members shared in the publishing, then it's possible that the writer will leave and only he will take with him his writer's share, but not the publishing. Sometimes you could take with him the publishing, but the one thing that stays with the band generally is the administration. That means that the band still has the right to use the song whenever they want. If they want to do a license for a TV show or whatever, they don't have to hunt this guy down to get his permission. So they still have to pay him his share, but they don't have to get his permission to use the song any way they want.
That's really important as well. Just, somebody calls you from, I don't know why I thought Miami Vice, a TV show that hasn't been on the air for 20 years, but a more current show. Somebody from Deadliest Catch calls you up. We've got to use this song for our show. We're editing. We need to know now. You can't be messing around trying to talk to, especially if the split with the bass player was acrimonious. The last thing you need is someone being sulky and not calling you back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the whole point of this is to create value for the musical works, and so you want to be able to exploit those works at any time and quickly, especially if all the rest of the band members are into it and the one guy who left isn't. You don't want to rely on his position. You want to retain administration on the songs.
Right.
And if you don't have a band agreement, by the way, you don't retain that. If there's no band agreement, then the guy who splits retains his publishing and administration over his share. So he can hold up whatever you do anytime down the road. So you want to have some kind of agreement.
Wow. So, and just to be clear, you're not saying by retaining administration rights, the band isn't shafting, let's say, this bass player stuff out of his money. They have the right to agree to something. And once something is agreed to, then the bass player will get his share eventually of that money.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's just to allow the band move forward and make money on the music, really.
Right. So we talked about the writer's share, the publishing share. Do you have another couple of minutes to talk about how the songwriting and the publishing? Do you have like an easy couple of minutes to educate people on those splits and how that works?
Well, it's a little bit complicated.
I know. I'm sorry.
I do want to take it. Let's take an example of a band that has 4 people. Okay, so they all write the song together. So you've got 25% for each writer. Each writer owns 25% of the publishing and 25% of the writer's share. The pool of songwriting, the songwriting pool gets divided in 2. There's half goes to publishing and half goes to songwriting.
Yep.
Now, if the band does a deal with a publishing company, the publisher might come in and co-publish with the writers, so the publishing side gets split in 2. And the writers still retain their writer's share, but the publishing company splits the publishing share. So it's really, it's better almost to address this in from a question, because it gets pretty nitpicky as to how the deal gets done if there's a publishing company. But essentially, each songwriter has a piece of the publishing and a piece of the writing until they give it up.
Okay. So if a publishing company said, we want to come in and do a 50-50 split of publishing, then on the songwriting side, then the band retains their 50%, plus they have 50% of the other 50%, the publishing part.
Right. Right. So it's actually a 75-25 deal. The publisher gets 25%, the band gets 70%, the writers retain 75%. But if the publishing company offered in advance to get that publishing piece, then they have a right to take they have a right to collect, to recoup their advance against the full amount, including the writer's side. The one place that they don't have the right is with regard to the performance fees from ASCAP or BMI for radio performance or digital performance. Those get paid directly to the songwriter. But on the mechanicals and other revenue streams, the publisher can collect on 100% until they recoup, and then it switches back to 75-25.
Okay. That's good. I'm working on a couple of different charts and diagrams to try and make that easy in the book. And I should mention to anybody listening that you have a couple of really great sections in the book, Hillel. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Please, buy Tour Smart and read my sections.
And Band Smart coming soon.
Yeah, right.
The last question.
Okay, go ahead.
What? No, what?
My section is in Band Smart or Tour Smart?
Band Smart.
Band Smart. Okay, and that's not out yet, but it's coming soon.
No, I know. It is coming. It's coming very soon. I'm hoping. Well, yeah, very soon.